Hi there guys, this is Adam with PI Paintball, and we are going to be doing the Clone GTi video today. Just got this clone a few days ago, shot it over the weekend at a tournament, and then shot it a couple days before that for a practice. So, pretty brief overview. We'll try and keep it under 10 minutes here for you. First things first, we got the shift kit with it. So the shift kit is MacDev's barrel, their inserts. So it operates relatively similarly to a Freak. Instead of dropping in though, these actually screw in. Comes in a nice case. You should get 4 inserts plus one that comes with the gun. Excellent casing, nice and small. Love it. Now we'll get into the actual MacDev gun, the GTi. Excellent casing. I love their casing. It's kind of a cross between the soft die casing and the hard clamshells that Ego came out with. I think they changed that up with the LV1, but it's a really firm case. Can't really say anything bad about it. They've gone with a newer case. The old RX case was flatter and one-dimensional, so it's much bigger. So here it is. We'll open it up. First thing that you see in top, you got the barrel in matching ammo. Comes, like I said, with a shift insert. You also have this nice pouch down here. We'll get to that in a hot second. Allen keys are missing. If you buy this gun, get new Allen keys. If you're paying almost $1,700 for a paintball gun, these in this ammo, the Clone GTi is $1,650. So if you're paying that much money for a paintball gun, please invest in your own $5 set of Allen keys. It'll be worth it. The lube as well is not here. It comes in a small container, obviously that fits in there, but they've actually come out with a new lube. Here it is. It's just better all around. Not that the old lube is bad by any means. If you have it, don't stop using it. But the newer lube is better for the spools. So just came out with it not too long ago, slightly before the GTi, but definitely you're gonna want to get that. In here, I just have, this is the stock valve, not the GTi valve. And then the last thing in here is the color manual. MacDev does an amazing job with their manuals. Still full color, great pictures, easy to walk through, easy to understand everything. Love these manuals. If you're stuck out at a field and you don't have Wi-Fi, out in the middle of the woods, the color manuals are a great thing to have. Really a lifesaver. I enjoy having it on my phone and being able to get, to the manuals through there, but just still really want it to come with a manual. So to go over the shift kit, you can see there's an insert in here that just spins, and it comes out just like that. Originally, I didn't like the shift insert as much because of the screwing in. I thought it made the barrel look a little weird. You get used to it, one, and two, it's actually nice because on the Freaks, I don't know if you've ever used a Freak heavily, but occasionally you'll get an insert that doesn't quite fit. It'll be just a hair longer, maybe a hair shorter. It just doesn't want to seat in that back properly. Whereas if you screw it in like the shift, it eliminates that. So I don't know if that's completely due to screwing in or just the variation in manufacturers for the Freak inserts, but just what it is. So 2-piece barrel, well 3-piece technically, great porting, puts out a really nice sound signature, clean barrel. The ammo is great on all their barrels. Flip it over onto the actual gun itself, and this is the GTi. Pull it out, get this out of the way. Great gun. Overall, it's an amazing gun. I think it's arguably one of the best on the market based on your preference. Everybody has a different preference, so every gun caters to a different person. This one fits my preferences pretty well in all that I look for in a gun. The only way that would be better is if it was a pop-it. I'm a pop-it guy. But all in all, excellent gun. You'll notice the first thing I have is a little grip tape on the reg housing. The entire milling of the gun is very clean, very sleek, very straight, very shiny. So if you're diving into a bunker and you put your hand down into some paint and pick up your gun, it does get a little slick. I don't have a reg housing grip that I like for it yet, so grip tape went on for the tournament, and that was that. The trigger frame, or the trigger guard, is sharp. Probably one of my biggest downsides to this gun. It's a little bit on the sharp side. Nothing that will cut you or anything else, but if you're sitting there holding it consistently, just it doesn't feel great. It takes away some of the comfort of the overall gun. Triggers as well. MacDev gets crapped on a lot for their triggers. It's okay. I'll give it to you that. It's okay. It's nothing that you absolutely must replace. I played Sunday with it. Worked absolutely fine. If you want to, there's a whole bunch of trigger options out there in almost every shape. MacDev just came out with a deuce trigger as well. It wasn't through MacDev, through a third party, but there's a deuce trigger, there's a violent trigger, there's the scythe, there's rake triggers out there, but much better overall. I like the Sith shape scythe, however you pronounce it. The RX was probably the last gun that MacDev came out with that came with a rake trigger. Not a fan of that. You can get by with this. If you're in ramp, absolutely no problem. In semi, it's noticeable. It's not my favorite, but it worked. It worked Sunday, so I can't complain. Feed neck, pretty standard. It's your locking feed neck. Pretty straightforward. For some reason, MacDev catches some heat for this little gap here. I'll try and show it to you. There's a tiny little gap, and you can see the paper can't even really move all that much in it without bending the actual card. So, Mike from Tech PB put it out that you can put dirt and everything else in there while you're playing, but I've never seen it happen. I've been using MacDev guns for years, never had it happen. But for some reason, every time they release a gun, somebody posts up, I hope they fix the feed neck, but really minimal issues with the feed neck. That's not an issue. I think one of the Legion players had one pop off a time during an event, and that kind of fueled the fire. But all in all, standard feed neck. There's not much that can go wrong. It's a good feed neck. Moving on to the gun, we got the frame. Not incredibly ergonomic. It's a little rounder than the older Clone VX grips, or the Clone VX frame, sorry. The edges here are a little more rounded, just making it a little bit more comfortable. The VX was more squared off, as well as the RX, but not something you would notice, incredibly. It's definitely not a DM. It's not, that comfort level. But MacDev put a lot of time and energy into their shots, and it appears that maybe not as much time was spent on the frame. Having said that, though, the ergonomics on the gun are amazing. It feels great. The reg housing, the reg spacing is perfect. I hate the DMs that you can't put your finger around the reg. You can't hold it like this if you want to. You have to go through the trigger guard or over. Whereas this gun, the Lux, the G6R, a lot of the other, almost all of the other high-end guns out there, you can. It's personal preference to me, 100% personal preference, and if you don't care, it shouldn't make a difference in your purchasing. However, that's just my preference, so, it is what it is. The ASA, there's 3 flat faces on the ASA that you can grip to turn. It does get a little tricky to turn sometimes if you got paint on your hands, or you're sweaty. It gets a little bit tricky. Having said that, you should really only turn your air on and off maybe once or twice a day, so not the biggest concern. Other than that, the ASA is great design. MacDev has for a few years had the weak point, the failure point in their guns in the ASA. So unlike PE guns where the weak point is the frame to bend, or whatever the theory is there, the MacDev point is the ASA. So if you take a pretty bad dive, expect your ASA to be gone. It might be trickier in the GT, but I would definitely rather have my ASA than have my tank blow off, anything like that. Any sort of issues like that, or have my frame grip, frame bend, or anything like that. So just be aware. Minor detail. I prefer it. It's definitely a preference for me than having the frame. The drivetrain, we'll actually pull it out real quick. It's toolless completely, so pop this up and you just pull it out. And that's it. It literally couldn't be easier. The RX was easier to disassemble than the earlier clone editions, but this is definitely easier than the past clones. Completely toolless, amazing. One thing to note is this back cap is actually pressurized once the gun is aired up. Now, MacDev said that it won't come undone during play. So people expect it to be locked. The gun operates at around 100 psi, so that means tops there's 100 psi holding this in. If you want to, you can pull it out while it's aired up. Having said that, it's not going to pop up sporadically during a game. You're not going to take a hard dive and have your bolt drive fall out. It's just not going to happen. So if you sit there and you wrench it open and you try to open it up, it will. Really no need to do that, but just kind of as an expectation. Just anything else, this gun has a blackout kit. Sorry, the screws are all blacked out. Great finish, not a big detail, but I just like that the screws are kind of hidden. You can't really see them anymore. Actual GTi. There it is. You get a nice boot up sound. The screen is incredibly bright. Love it. MacDev has had a few issues with their screens. I don't really know what the root cause of it is, but they have screens that fade over time. Here's my RX. You can see the difference. The screens are just not on the same level. So this new screen is amazing. The old screens aren't bad. I mean, this is a gun from 2008 that I use every weekend, and it's still going strong. So preference. It is what it is. The new screens though, great, super bright, super clear, colored. Really just an amazing screen. You got your eyes on, eyes off. So you got a nice shot readout. The GTi has a pressure sensor, which is one of the main selling features for the board upgrade. We'll do the eyes while we're at it. Nice eyes. So inside the gun, near the solenoid, is a pressure sensor that will read out on the screen if you put that setting on. I personally don't prefer it during games, but to tech, it's awesome. With the hoseless design, a lot of people complain that it's hard to get to the reg, or it's hard to test what's going on. If you have an issue, you can't really test this or that, the other thing. So it's one of the knocks against the macroless gun is that it's harder to tech. With the pressure readout, it eliminates that. You look at the pressure and it's either shooting high or it's shooting low, or you can immediately assess whether or not the issue is coming from the reg or from the solenoid on. So great feature. It's a great function. MacDev kind of hit it out of the park with that one, and I love it. We'll get into programming mode. So if you just turn the gun off, another nice noise. All you do to get into programming mode is you hold the trigger and then turn it on, and here it comes. There you go, programming mode. So you have your profile, you have your systems, you have your preferences, and you have your settings. And that is it. Within those categories, you can obviously dive much deeper, but it's a lot nicer, I'll have to say, than the older Militia software. It was every single option you had to scroll through. So, they just kind of categorized it a little bit nicer. So now you don't have to scroll through your ball settle delay if you just want to load a different profile. So it's really intuitive. I didn't even look at the board. I wasn't even actually aware that there were differences in the operation until I got the gun in and then proceeded to go in and set it up to my liking. So great board. MacDev has always done really well. The earlier boards were done by Willett Tadao, or with Willett Tadao. The new ones, I'm not 100% positive if they're completely in-house, but they just come from a really strong board and programming background. Can't really say much more about it. You can scroll through all the settings. It's really easy operation, up and down. Hold the trigger to get into something, and that's pretty much it. So you just turn it off to exit, and there it is. So that's, for the most part, the Clone GTi. I have a shooting video. We're indoor, it's a GoPro. I'm playing with it, so it's not the best quality, but we'll try and get that up in the next day or so. But just wanted to get you the Clone GTi. Now, again, there is a GT which doesn't have the valve. It has the old style non-color display, and the valve is the biggest difference. Sorry. So, and the grips. So there's not a huge difference between the GT and the GTi, but I think it's definitely worth it to get the GTi. If you're going to spend the money for the GT, you might as well buy the GTi. If you have a GT and you want to get the GTi, there is still an upgrade wait list. But basically there's a whole bunch of parameters set up through Aggressive Sports and Macdev distribution channels where you can send in your old parts, send in your gun, and have the old parts swapped out with a new. The only other thing, just get into this real quick, a lot of people have knocked Macdev with the screens. Like I said, their screens have had some issues in the past. In almost any large channel manufacturer, the warranties are non-transferable. So when Macdev had some issues with the screen, if you were the owner of the gun, the original owner, 99.99% of the time was covered under warranty. And you would just send your gun back, they would give you a new screen. For some reason, people got up in arms that if they bought a used gun off of somebody else and the screen happened to go out, that it should still be covered under warranty. I don't agree with that at all. Macdev sells you a product. They don't make any money off of your resale. God knows how many times each gun passes hands. So if you get a Macdev gun and something goes wrong, the warranty is non-transferable. I've seen a lot of people get taken care of by Macdev for different issues. There's a great, excellent support staff. Eric at Aggressive Sports. There's a guy out in the Northeast. There's a team up in the Northwest Seattle area. There's the Florida channels. There's Macdev itself. But Aggressive Sports is the main distributor in the U.S., and they do an absolutely amazing job. They will take care of anybody. They're always there to listen to your problems here. If you have an issue, try and fix it. The guys on the forums, on PBN, MacDevMilitia.net, as well as if you can find them on Facebook, are stellar. More than happy to help out. I've found nothing but helpful people. You get your nut job every now and then, but who doesn't have one of those? I'd be lying if they said they weren't around. But any issue you have, definitely there's support there. So in the past, Macdev support was not the best. They had a few issues with the Florida Center, and I think another center here or there. But since Eric at Aggressive Sports has taken over, he's shooting poo on PBN. Since he's taken over, their customer service has come absolute leaps and bounds, and I would not hesitate to send a gun in, to question them with anything, to ask for help. All around great gun, all around great company, and rapidly improving support to the point where it is also great. So that's about it to sum up the GTi show. We'll turn this back off and just kind of give you the comparison. We'll pull out a clone. This is a VX, so it was a V1 or V2, and decided to get the VX upgrades. And you can see there's a lot of similarities. There's also a lot of new differences and better things. Best way to put it. A lot of improvements. So early version, newest version, definitely worth every penny. If you're going to go new, go with the GTi. So that about wraps it up. I know we're at about 18 minutes, a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but wanted to make sure we did it right. So at some point we'll have the Clone VX show, VX'd, and I'll try and wrap in a Cyborg RX show as well to anybody looking for a Pop 8 within the MacDev family. But those will come later. Maybe we'll even throw in a Super Gun show. Who knows? So yeah, this is Adam with PI Paintball, and hope you enjoyed.